Chapter 31, Being Appreciated. Do you know what this sentence signifies? Sun Mo felt a little touched as he looked at the papaya girl in front of him who was wearing green clothes and had a pair of innocent eyes. Lu Xiaoyu still had her head lowered and spoke as soft as a mosquito. I know. In Middle-earth's 9 provinces, it was a tradition to honor and respect your teacher. Once a student had acknowledged a master, they should not change their affiliation easily. If they were to acknowledge multiple masters, they would be condemned universally. Because of this tradition, as long as the teachers had some ethics, they would not take personal disciples easily. But once they took a student in, they would teach with patience. Be happier. I am not so pathetic to the extent where you have to sympathize with me. Sun Mo rubbed Lu Xiaoyu's hair. Under normal circumstances, internships had to last a full year before the school decided whether the intern teacher stayed or left. As Gixuxan's performance was overly superior, the school had promised her that as long as an intern teacher could recruit 5 students, they would be able to become substitute teachers and join the faculty officially. In the past, intern teachers like Sun Mo would never be qualified to recruit students at all. But you are a nice person. Patter, patter. Tears dripped down Lu Xiaoyu's eyes. She would never forget the day when she lost her money pouch. The memory of how she sat alone for 2 days and 1 night amid the pouring rain was still vivid. She was staring blankly at the Qinhuai River in front of her. The whole world seemed to have turned dark. At that moment, she had planned to jump off a few times at least. It was Sun Mo, the teacher with a good-looking smile, who gave her a sweet osmanthus cake, some piping hot meat buns, and a shelter over her head. As Sun Mo was a kind man, Lu Xiaoyu didn't want to see Sun Mo end up empty-handed. I know you are worried about me, but you don't have to give me a good person card. You know. Sun Mo opened up the wrapper of a pear blossom candy and stuffed the candy into her mouth. Lu Xiaoyu was at a loss. A young man with a big nose came over. After looking left and right, he then lifted his shirt placket and said, "You are a teacher, right? Do you want some students' information?" Sun Mo almost lifted his leg to kick the guy had he not spoken fast enough. Sun Mo thought that they had met a pervert, as there had always been a flasher near number 2 high school who harassed female students after their self-study sessions at night. Lu Xiaoyu was startled when she saw a stranger come near. She quickly ducked behind Sun Mo and clenched onto his sleeve tightly. When the big-nosed guy saw Sun Mo's unfriendly gaze, he didn't dare to spout any nonsense and went straight to the point. Do you want this? 500 taels of silver for 1 booklet. It has a record of every famous child in Jinling City and its nearby area. Sun Mo was speechless when he saw how people came up with such methods to earn money. The big-nosed guy flipped open a booklet and presented it to Sun Mo. Here, you can see their surnames, hometowns, capabilities, and even what they are famous for. How many people are there? Sun Mo reached his hand out for the booklet, but the big-nosed guy took it back just as fast. 500 people. After his reply, the big-nosed guy quickly explained further, knowing that the number was too little. The student recruitment meet only lasts for 3 days, and it's already considered good if you manage to interact with 200 students. Hence, even though the name list is short, it's sufficient. Too expensive. Sun Mo shook his head. Oh, my great teacher. You can earn money easily by teaching a few classes. But we have to run our legs apart to collect these names, and all we hope is to earn some cash these few days. The big-nosed guy complained tearfully. 100 taels of silver. Sun Mo bargained. That's too little. 450 taels of silver. The big-nosed guy requited a price. 100 taels of silver. Sun Mo was persistent. 400 taels of silver. Look how much weight I lost this year by living on the streets and having nothing to eat. The big-nosed guy insisted. Lu Xiaoyu stared with her jaw dropped. She was swept off her feet after hearing how the price was bargained to 150 taels. She wished she had such bargaining skills. She could have saved some money here and there to buy more pear blossom candies. 120 taels of silver. It cannot go any lower than this. The big-nosed guy cried out. Forget it then. Sun Mo turned and walked away. The big-nosed guy was stunned. How could Sun Mo not have persisted? He was almost removing his pants, but Sun Mo still wanted to leave. Thus, The big-nosed guy could not let this go and chased after Sun Mo. Fine, 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 100 tals of silver. The big-nosed guy put up a performance where he shed tears. 50 tals of silver. Sun Mo continued to requote the price. You. The big-nosed guy trembled with rage. He would have spat on Sun Mo's face if he was not in the territory of Central Province Academy. He thought to himself, Sun Mo might as well kill him if he wanted to bargain to this extent. I'll take it for 100 tals of silver. With this timely interruption by a middle-aged man, the big-nosed guy's raging expression started to beam. He received the money and went away. Lu Xiaoruo cowered behind Sun Mo's back again. The middle-aged man was square-faced with dashing eyebrows. Even as he smiled, an imposing aura was emitted out of him. Young man, don't be stingy when it's time to invest, the square-faced guy advised. I'm poor. Sun Mo spoke back with anger and thought to himself, who is this guy? Did people even know him? Who was he to lecture Sun Mo? Lu Xiaoruo tugged at Sun Mo's sleeves and reminded softly, Teacher, I think he's right. Hee, young man, don't lose yourself for the sake of winning. The square-faced guy was warning Sun Mo but had his eyes fixed on Lu Xiaoruo. Wham! Lu Xiaoruo cowered behind Sun Mo instantly. This middle-aged man was very imposing. How scary. Just ask around casually and you'll find out who these famous children are. Don't even waste your effort in checking. I believe that some schools have collected such information or have even sent it to their teachers, said Sun Mo coldly. Even though Sun Mo had never seen Anxin Hui before, as an honor graduate of Heavenly Mystery Academy, she was considered a genius of the century. If she hadn't been scheming, how could she have revitalized Central Province Academy? The square-faced guy raised his head and measured Sun Mo with his eyes while flipping through the booklet. He had thought that Sun Mo couldn't bear to spend some money, but he never knew that Sun Mo had such deep thinking. Even if you're right, you don't have the information, do you? Said Lu Xiaoruo. She didn't get it. Or are you going to ask the principal for it? I mean, if everyone could collect such crucial information, then this recruitment meet won't have any value left. Besides, all the schools would have sent some scouts to examine good seedlings, and these seedlings would surely receive an invitation after their aptitude was confirmed, said Sun Mo. He had seen many such occurrences. When normal students had not even started researching the school and their majors, Tsingwu and Peking University had sent vehicles out to every city to fetch these top scorers. After those good seedlings are chosen and selected by other schools, only the leftovers will come to Central Province Academy. Even if they come, those very experienced teachers will get the first dips on them. Sun Mo hadn't even mentioned anything about great teachers. Those students who knew that they had the talent would have taken the initiative to meet these great teachers before the recruitment meet, aspiring to be taken under their tutelage. That explains. Lu Xiaoruo was enlightened. Is there any other reason? The square-faced guy was curious. There are bound to be teachers who buy students' information. The demand is high, but the supply is low. Even if you have set your eyes on a specific student, there will be competition from other teachers. To recruit a student, you must spend a lot of time explaining your teaching rationale or even proving your teaching ability. Sun Mo shrugged. The student recruitment meet will only be open for 3 days. Instead of competing, why don't you pick those unpolished jades, undiscovered talent? Not bad. The square-faced guy touched his chin and seriously observed Sun Mo. There's nothing capable about depending on information. You will only have the potential to become a great teacher if you pick students through your own judgment. Lu Xiaoruo was amazed. She had thought that it was merely them buying some information. However, it turned out to have so many twists and turns. She was totally impressed. Teacher Sun has formidable analytical capability. If it was me, I would have probably wasted all this money, Lu Xiaoruo thought. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoruo +3. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoruo, neutral, 8/100ths. What are you rambling about? The square-faced guy roughly flipped through the information and tossed the booklet into the rubbish bin even before he had finished reading it. He had purchased it out of curiosity, not because he wanted to use it as a tool to pick students. Sun Mo thought to himself. The actual reason why he didn't buy this information was because he has his divine sight. He could see every student's potential value just by glancing around, and he would never recruit any bad goods. untalented student. Have you discovered any unpolished jade? The square-faced guy had no intention to leave. What is a teacher from Zhongzhou Academy doing at our school? Are you here to poach our students? Sun Mo intentionally ostracized the square-faced guy. Lu Xiaoyu looked at the square-faced guy. Her surprised expression turned into alertness as the guy seemed ready to yell at any moment. Young man, don't try any tricks. Despite his words, the square-faced guy was not angry. Tell me, which students have you set your eyes on? Sun Mo teased. What are you guys talking about? Why don't I seem to understand? Asked Lu Xiaoyu, her head bowed with sorrow. She could neither catch up with their logic, nor could she understand the scheme Sun Mo was plotting. Lu Xiaoyu's silly character was very adorable, hence, the square-faced guy explained to her patiently despite his usually stern personality. Since we're all from Jinling City but born to be enemies, the chances of Zhongzhou Academy to spy on you guys were higher than that from any other schools. Sun Mo did not question if I was a teacher from Zhongzhou Academy as he was very certain about it. By using the word inquire, he had wanted to make me angry so he could extract information from me through deceit. You must know, when people get angry and impulsive, their inferential ability becomes weaker, and they may let out confidential information through their words. The square-faced guy looked at Sun Mo with much admiration this time around. He had wanted to say something but held it back instead. We still have to observe for a while. Hence, the square-faced guy quietly followed behind Sun Mo. Hey, are you the kind of pervert who likes to tail behind people? Sun Mo frowned. This man gave him goosebumps. He'd rather be followed by pretty ladies like Jin Muji. Hee. What a toxic mouth. The square-faced guy wasn't offended but quietly marked Sun Mo down in his heart. He pointed to the nearest flower bed. I saw that student on the information booklet before and he's quite good. Why don't you go and recommend yourself? As Sun Mo turned his head, he saw a student who was brandishing a 2-foot red spear. A middle-aged man in his 40s stood at his side. He was wearing an azure long robe, the uniform of a formerly employed teacher in Central Province Academy. Chapter 32, Resignation Letter. On the square that was filled with flowers, that male student was swinging his spear vigorously, sweeping out a current that pressed down against all the peonies around him. He isn't bad with his spear. The square-faced guy praised. In comparison with the square-faced guy, Sun Mo was able to see more data of this guy after using his divine sight. Chu Jian, 12 years old. 2nd level of the body refinement realm. Strength, 7, top-notch amongst those from the same age group. Intellect, 5, average level. Sufficient. Agility, 6. Still could be said to be sufficient, but not very agile. Will, 7. The young man has a strong and outstanding will. Potential value, above average. Remark. Practices spear arts. About to reach the expert grade. Sun Mo used his thumb to stroke the sandalwood blade. Although Chu Jian's potential value wasn't considered high, it was above average. It might be 1 tier lower, but it wasn't considered bad. Given his age, he should be a new student who was planning to enroll. Moreover, he must have had an expert giving him guidance in his spear arts before. The system's grading scale was the elementary grade, good grade, expert grade, grandmaster grade, and then the ancestor grade. At the expert grade, a cultivator was familiar with the technique and was starting to develop their own insight and understanding about it. Sun Mo's circulation technique was at the expert grade, thus he roughly knew what level the spear arts of this young man called Chu Jian had reached. If he hadn't put in hard work, it'd be impossible for him to have such achievements. Sun Mo threw a glance toward the full-time teacher. Liu Wenyan, 42 years old, at the peak of the blood ignition realm. Potential value, average. Remark, has reached a bottleneck and has been in the blood ignition realm for 3 years, unable to advance to the divine force realm. As for the concrete data, Sun Mo couldn't be bothered to read it. A teacher at his level was considered one who wouldn't realize his desires. Otherwise, he wouldn't be landed in a plight where he'd have to come to recruit new students. "Go and take a look," the square-faced guy said and walked over first. He couldn't even bother to glance at Liu Wenyan. A person like this wasn't within his area of concern. Sun Mo followed after him and looked at the square-faced guy. Rongbo, 45 years old, longevity realm, high potential value. Remark: obtained the 4-star Great Teacher title 3 months ago. Looking at the words marked in red next to the square-faced guy's face, Sun Mo didn't need to look at the other data. In order to become a 4-star Great Teacher, one would need to gain enlightenment in at least 12 Great Teacher halos, be at the expert grade in 4 secondary occupations, and have personal disciples on the heroes rankings. There were only a few great teachers of this level in the entire Central Province Academy. This was a big shot. However, Sun Mo's attitude was as usual, not changing. He merely started to have a new analysis in his heart. Could he be a new teacher that Xin Huai invited? In order for a school to increase its grade, having experienced great teachers was an absolute must. Of course, the salary for recruiting such a person would be unbelievably high. After all, great teachers were very rare existences. Chu Jian saw Rongbo and the other two but didn't mind it much. It would be weird if someone of his talent didn't have people surrounding him. Therefore, he asked Liu Wenyan calmly, "What do you think of my spear art?" "It's excellent." Liu Wenyan's face turned grim and he lost confidence. From his judgment, a person who could cultivate their spear art to this level at only 12 years old must be a genius. Liu Wenyan was worried that he wouldn't be able to teach Chu Jian. He felt that Chu Jian's spear art was perfect. Chu Jian shook his head after seeing Liu Wenyan's countenance. It was useless to listen to the opinion of a teacher who was lacking in confidence. Lu Xiruo tugged at Sun Mo's sleeves and asked softly, "Can you give him any guidance?" Yes, Sun Mo did have guidance to give him. He could analyze a lot of things by looking at the data he saw with his divine sight. Lu Xiruo immediately became more spirited. She tiptoed and shouted toward Chu Jian, "If you have any questions, you can ask Teacher Sun Mo." Chu Jian looked toward Rongbo while Liu Wenyan frowned, assessing Sun Mo. This couldn't be Xin Huai's fiancé, right? "It's not him." Lu Xiruo panicked and tugged at Sun Mo's hand, wanting him to say something. Chu Jian instantly lost interest. As they said, youngsters were inexperienced and unreliable. Putting aside the fact that Sun Mo was young, he was also wearing a light blue long robe. As Chu Jian was planning to enter Central Province Academy, he knew some information about its system. Sun Mo's clothes were the representation of an intern teacher. "He's looking down on you," Rongbo teased. "Your spear art is good, and you have made a small achievement in it. But you shouldn't continue with it in the future." The moment Sun Mo spoke up, he said something really astonishing. Chu Jian frowned. Before he said anything, Liu Wenyan was already displeased. "If you don't know things, then don't spout rubbish. Do you know that you're misleading students?" Given the talent he showed in spear arts now, he'd definitely become a renowned spear grandmaster in the future. Liu Wenyan was truly thinking of Chu Jian's sake. He had heard that Sun Mo wasn't even a teaching assistant and had gone to the logistics department. Thus, it was clear that Sun Mo didn't have much talent. Moreover, the rumor had it that because he looked handsome, Xin Huai would let him sponge off her. Hearing Sun Mo's assessment, Rongbo's eyes lit up. His interest in Sun Mo surpassed his interest in Chu Jian. "Your spear art is very good now, but your progress will be increasingly slower in the future." Sun Mo wasn't angry but instead looked at Chu Jian. Over 100 lines of detailed data appeared next to Chu Jian. "It's because you made the wrong choice right from the beginning." "What rubbish!" Liu Wenyan reprimanded. "Go on." Rongbo wanted to listen on. "Your stature is too short and your arms aren't long enough. You'll be at a disadvantage if you were to practice the spear. You won't be able to release the greatest advantage spear arts have." Sun Mo sighed. 1 inch longer, 1 inch stronger. Chu Jian's disadvantage was that his arms were too short. If he were to encounter another spear expert who was of a similar level as him, but taller, he would be at a disadvantage. "Huh?" Liu Wenyan was flabbergasted. Chu Jian was also stunned. He suddenly recalled what his father had told him back in the past. "Jianna, It's too disadvantageous for you to walk on the path of the spear with your short body and short limbs. Even if you go to the very end, you won't be able to reach my level. As Chu Jian admired his father, liking the way his father was domineering and challenged the world head-on with his spear, Chu Jian ended up being infatuated with the spear. He thus put in hard work at it over the years. After achieving a small success in his spear arts, everyone would praise him when they saw him. There were even quite a number of people who wanted him for their disciple. Chu Jian started to feel proud of this, thinking that what his father said was wrong. However, in the last half a year, he had made no progress in his spear art. This was why he came to the Central Province Academy, wanting to find a way to attain a breakthrough. He hadn't expected to hear the same rating his father had given. For that instant, he was very angry. However, he immediately suppressed his anger and the contempt on his face disappeared. Instead, he bowed solemnly. "Thank you for your guidance, Teacher Sunday." It was the tradition in the 9 provinces to respect teachers and honor their teachings. Regardless of his age, a teacher who could say the same thing his father, whom he held great admiration for, deserved some respect. Ding! Plus 20 favorable impression points from Chu Jian. Prestige connection with Chu Jian initiated. Neutral. 21/100ths. Sun Mo let out a soft laugh after hearing the system's notification. Teacher Sun is so amazing. Seeing Chu Jian bowing, Lu Xiaoyuo immediately felt as if she shared the honor. Ding! Plus 10 favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoyuo. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoyuo. Neutral. 18/100ths. Huh? Liu Wenyun let out a surprised cry, and his countenance turned increasingly grim. He was trying to help this young man out, but he turned to bow to Sun Mo. Could it be that what he said is right? Liu Wenyun looked toward Sun Mo. The light blue long robe that Sun Mo wore pierced his eyes strongly. He wasn't even comparable to an intern teacher. "I really don't have the talent to be a teacher." Liu Wenyun sighed and turned to leave. "Since Teacher Sun's guidance is accurate, then do you want him as your teacher?" Lu Xiaoyuo opened her eyes wide, looking at Chu Jian, hoping that he'd agree immediately. "I'm sorry. I need to give it some thought." Chu Jian drew his spear back and left. The reason he came to this school was to find a way to attain a breakthrough. He didn't give up on the spear in the past, and he wouldn't give it up in the future. "Oh, then how long are you going to consider?" Lu Xiaoyuo asked. Sun Mo raised his hand and knocked on Lu Xiaoyuo's head. "Stupid. He's rejecting discreetly." "Huh?" Lu Xiaoyuo was too innocent and couldn't read between the lines. "His aptitude isn't bad. Are you not going to consider him?" Sun Mo tried asking Rongbo. "Compared to him, I admire you more." Rongbo chuckled. "Do you have a way to take him as your disciple?" "No," Sun Mo replied honestly. A young man who could train his spear to this level was someone who wouldn't change his mind easily. Moreover, his will was at 7, showing that he was clearly very stubborn. If there weren't any accidents, he'd probably study under a spear art master. Sun Mo knew that he didn't have a chance and thus didn't want to waste the effort to try. "Young man, you must learn to take on challenges head-on." Rongbo was a little displeased that Sun Mo was giving up. He was hoping to see Sun Mo showing a better performance. "I'm off. I'll go take a look at the martial arts platform. There might be students with good potential there." Sun Mo had no intention of running into a brick wall. In order to let students better display their talents, the school set up a wooden platform on the field that was the size of a basketball court. Right now, only 3 to 4 students were displaying their martial arts there. The martial arts platform was surrounded mostly by students, with only a few teachers. Therefore, everyone didn't have a strong desire to perform. Sun Mo looked over and saw a lot of data popping up, almost blurring his vision. Therefore, he only focused his attention on the students whose potential values were at least above average or higher. It was a pity that there were very few of them. As expected, these are the students left over after people have made their selection. Sun Motsket. Suddenly, an extremely high potential value appeared in his sight. He was about to take a careful look when a commotion broke out in the crowd. There were even some girls screaming. "Teacher Liu Mubai is here." With the chaos, he lost sight of the extremely high. Who is Liu Mubai? He's so popular? Lu Xiaoyuo tiptoed and looked around. Is he a great teacher? Sun Mo noticed that Rongbo, who was next to him, also wore an interested expression. Liu Wenyan stood next to the sorrowless lake, looking at the calm lake while wearing an aggrieved expression. He kept on recalling the scene in which Sun Mo had given Chu Jian pointers when he was unable to. After hesitating for very long, he eventually let out a long sigh and returned to the dorm. When he came out again, he was holding on to a letter. After a short moment of hesitation, he walked toward the administrative building. He couldn't get himself to face Xin Huai and thus handed the letter to Zilin. Teacher Liu, this is. Zilin was surprised. It was because the words resignation letter was written on the envelope. Please help me to pass this letter to headmaster. And after saying this, Liu Wenyan's expression became a lot more relaxed. He swung his sleeve and turned to leave. Chapter 33, White Clothes, Silver Spear, Xuan Yuan Po. It was a serious matter. A teacher had tendered his resignation for no reason, so Zilin didn't dare to delay the matter and immediately passed the resignation letter to Xin Huai. What else did he say? Xin Huai put down her brush and opened up the letter. The content wasn't long. He had first said that he had a good time in the school for the past 10 or more years and had developed strong feelings for it. Thereafter, the topic changed to him being ashamed of having failed the previous headmaster. Not capable of advancing to become a great teacher all this while, he no longer had the face to stay in the school. No, but by the looks of it, he seemed to have been dealt a great blow. Zilin felt that it was good for Liu Wenyan to resign as well. It would save some money for the school. Go and prepare 1,000 silvertals, Xin Huai instructed. Headmaster. Zilin wasn't pleased. She must be planning to give this to Liu Wenyan. Was there a need for that? Go and prepare it. Xin Huai put down the documents she was going through and headed out. Headmaster. That Liu Wenyan is too mediocre. He's not worth you showing kindness to. Zilin didn't wish to move. The school's financial situation was in red. If they were to give out these 1,000 silvertals, Xin Huai would definitely have to scrimp and save for a very long time. Although he is mediocre and hasn't produced any results, he has worked for the school for over 10 years. Moreover, he has a family to take care of. I only hope that he won't be troubled too much financially before he finds his next job. Xin Huai said in a very calm tone. But isn't that too much? Zilin pouted. Xin Huai was really kind, but she knew what eldest Mrs. character was like. Once she had made up her mind, it would be impossible to persuade her otherwise. Therefore, Zilin went to prepare the money. Liu Wenyan stood by the roadside not far away from the school's entrance. He had luggage with him and was waiting for a horse carriage. Teacher Liu. Hearing the graceful voice, Liu Wenyan, who was lost in his thoughts, got back to his senses. Seeing that Xin Huai was standing right next to him, he quickly greeted her. Headmaster, and why does Teacher Liu wish to resign? Is it because I haven't done a good job? Did I disappoint you? Xin Huai asked. No, number. It's just that I'm too useless. Liu Wenyan lowered his head, looking ashamed. Since that's the case, I wish Teacher Liu well on your journey. Xin Huai took the wooden chest from Zilin and handed it to Liu Wenyan. This is a token of our appreciation. Please accept it. No, I mustn't take it. Liu Wenyan refused to take it. He felt both touched and ashamed. Who was he to be personally sent off by Headmaster Xin Huai? Take it. Give my greetings to Aunt. After saying that, Xin Huai turned to leave. She was very graceful and dignified during the entire process, giving off a great impression. Liu Wenyan held on to the chest as he looked at Xin Huai's back view. He couldn't help but shake his head. She was a talented and good lady, but it was really an extremely difficult task to bring the Central Province Academy back up. Right now, the school had too many malpractices, and it had accumulated to the point of no return. At the thought of this, Liu Wenyan couldn't help but call out, Headmaster, and please be careful of Zhang Hanfu. Xin Huai didn't turn back. It is only after he has resigned and taken the 1,000 silvertals that he dared to say be careful of Zhang Hanfu. What a coward. Zilin was still feeling upset. Recalling the scene from earlier in which Sun Mo had guided Chu Jian, he called out again, and that Sun Mo, he does have some capability. I really hope that you're not just someone who sponges off a woman and that you'll be able to help Headmaster. And hearing Sun Mo's name being mentioned, Zilin's expression immediately turned dark, and she couldn't help but say, Someone like Liu Wenyan should have resigned long ago. What capability can that Sun Mo have when he can't even work as a logistics worker? He must really be blind. Xin Huai frowned slightly. Could it be that Sun Mo was related to Liu Wenyan's resignation? She immediately shook her head. She must have overthought things. But she should go and see him after the student recruitment meet had ended. Liu Mubai's arrival caused the atmosphere around the martial arts platform to liven up. Ranked 18th on the Green Cloud rankings, a definite candidate to becoming a great teacher. He came from the Black-White Academy, which is one of the top 9 famous schools. He graduated with outstanding results, being third in the cohort and having a high level of mastery in sword arts. He is a new teacher whom Xin Huai places great helps in. Rongbo brought out amazing praises one after another, all of which belonged to Liu Mubai. The Green Cloud rankings was a ranking that the Saint Gate had come up with. Youngsters and students below the age of 25 who were outstanding enough would be able to get listed on this ranking. As its name suggested, the Green Cloud rankings was established with the hope that youngsters could get their names on it and rise to the clouds. This ranking covered all youngsters in Middle-earth's 9 provinces who were 25 years old or below. Therefore, everyone knew that it was a representation of great quality. The 18th position that Liu Mubai was ranked at was already in existence that other people held admiration for. Liu Mubai is 24 years old this year. It's said that he has long reached the standard of a 1-star great teacher, and that if he were to take the occupation examination, he'd have a high chance of passing it. The reason he didn't go for it is because he planned to make history, aiming to become a 3-star great teacher directly. Rongbo shared a small secret. That's so amazing, Lu Xiaoyuo exclaimed. Sun Motsket. If Liu Mubai also had the absolute great teacher system, the amount of favorable impression points he received would probably be over 1,000 points. Why did such an amazing teacher come to the Central Province Academy? When someone next to them heard this, they asked, feeling perplexed. Given his results, Liu Mubai shouldn't have any problem staying in the Black-White Academy, right? Outstanding people like to take on challenges. If Liu Mubai were to stay in the Black-White Academy, his life would just continue as it had been. However, if he were to come to the Central Province Academy, helping this famous school with a great historical background to return to the top 9 rankings, then his name would become monumental for this school. He'd get a statue made after him, his name passing down in history. If it was you, what would you choose? Rongbo could relate to what Liu Mubai was thinking. Which great teacher wouldn't want their name to be passed down in history? He has such great ambitions, Lu Xiaoyuo exclaimed. Of course, that's probably one of the reasons why Xin Huai kept Liu Mubai here. Rongbo kept his gaze on Liu Mubai, who was amongst the crowd. He didn't blink at all. There had only been 3 to 4 people on the martial arts platform earlier on. But after Liu Mubai's arrival, over 100 students jumped onto it. They couldn't wait to perform the martial arts that they were proud of, wanting to show off their moves and be selected by Liu Mubai. Suddenly, the martial arts platform was packed with people. At a time like this, giving way to others wasn't something that people would consider. There were usually too few chances to come into contact with Liu Mubai, so they must grab hold of this chance. A few teachers immediately went up in a bid to uphold the order, but it was too late. With a loud boom, over 10 students let out agonizing cries as they were sent flying and fell off from the martial arts platform. The commotion ceased instantly. Even the surrounding students looked over. A young man, who was over 1.8 meters tall, stood on a vacant area on the martial arts platform, holding onto a silver spear, sweeping his cold gaze out. The summer wind blew, causing his white clothes to flutter. Oh, not bad. Rongbo praised as his gaze landed on the young man's white clothes. There were some traces of dark red on it. From his experience, those were likely left behind from washing out blood traces. Xuan Yuanpo is here to accept challenges. The young man called out loudly and proudly. The students on the martial arts platform were stunned for a moment before they charged out toward him angrily. This young man holding a silver spear was too arrogant and deserved to be given a beating. Take this. A muscular young man immediately pounced out. Thinking of using me as a stepping stone? Dream on. However, He had just finished his words when he was struck in the chest by Xuan Yunpo's spear, and he fell backward like a broken sandbag. Bang! The muscular young man landed on the ground. He was in so much pain that he had curled up into a ball. This attack hadn't scared off the rest but agitated their competitiveness instead. Therefore, another young man charged out. Bang! The young man was struck by the spear and sent flying. "I'll have a go." A soft bellow rang out as a budding young girl charged out. However, it took only an instant before she was knocked off the martial arts platform. SSSSS. Everyone couldn't help but draw in a cold gasp. This Xuan Yunpo was arrogant and amazing, but at the same time, very vicious as well. He didn't even hold back against a girl. The girl let out an agonizing cry, but Xuan Yunpo was unmoved. He swung his silver spear around. "You guys are too weak. Come at me together." Such an arrogant call-out infuriated the crowd. "Let's attack together and kill him. This guy is really brutal. He even beat up girls. Trash him." The young men were all infuriated, but just as they were all planning to jointly attack Xuan Yunpo, they were stopped by a teacher who had jumped up the martial arts platform. "What are you guys doing? This place is for you guys to demonstrate your martial arts and spar. It's not for mass fighting and creating trouble. All of you get off now." Lianzheng was infuriated. The youngsters didn't know how to hold back. What if they were to cripple someone? The students were hesitant and unwilling. "Get off!" Lianzheng bellowed, and golden light lit up on his body as priceless advice was activated. Influenced by the great teacher Halo, all of the students got off the martial arts platform docilely. Xuan Yunpo rested his spear on his shoulder, and then jumped off the martial arts platform. "Hold on." Liu Mubai spoke up. A commotion broke out, and some people wore envious gazes. It was clear that Liu Mubai wanted to recruit Xuan Yunpo. "What is it?" Xuan Yunpo turned back and sniffed. Many people had the urge to beat him up after seeing his attitude. "Do you know what it means to respect teachers and honor their teachings? Who speaks to a person who was a sure candidate to become a great teacher like this?" Some of them wanted Xuan Yunpo to quickly offend Liu Mubai and be detested by him. "I'm Liu Mubai. I'm very interested in you." Liu Mubai smiled as he assessed Xuan Yunpo. He looked at Xuan Yunpo's physique and felt that he was someone with great potential. "There are many people interested in me." Xuan Yunpo smiled proudly. Many teachers shook their heads when they heard this reply. This Xuan Yunpo's head couldn't be filled with muscles, could it? Usually, when a teacher said this, smarter students would know that the teacher wanted to take them in as their disciple. If the student was interested, they would quickly drop to their knees and pay respect to the teacher. "All right, I'll say this again. I'm Liu Mubai, ranked 18th on the Green Cloud rankings. I graduated from the Black-White Academy and am a teacher from the Central Province Academy. I admire your physique and character, and plan on taking you in as my disciple." Proud as he was, Liu Mubai wouldn't dare to call himself a strong candidate for becoming a great teacher. In fact, just the fact that he was ranked 18th on the Green Cloud rankings was enough to explain a lot of things. However, Xuan Yunpo was clearly a hot-headed person and there wasn't any hint of respect in his tone. "Do you excel in spear arts?" Such a straightforward question was considered to be quite offensive. Chapter 34, The Place of Belonging for a Genius. This kid is really arrogant. When Yuan Feng, who was amongst the crowd, saw this scene, he felt displeased. "Well, geniuses tend to be different from other people." Lu Dai sighed. Teachers tended to have more patience and be more tolerant toward geniuses. If an ordinary student were to ask the same question, Liu Mubai would have swung his sleeves back and left. Zhang Sheng didn't say anything but stared at Xuan Yunpo, wanting to see how he was different from other people. This guy should be a genius considering that Liu Mubai had taken the initiative to speak up to him. If only I could learn the way Liu Mubai discerns students. Zhang Sheng felt envious. "I excel in 8 types of weapons, especially in the sword. I have plenty of insights." Liu Mubai's tone remained calm, but the people around him started to gasp. It required great capabilities for one to be able to master so many weapons. When a teacher implied that they excelled in something, it meant that they were at a level in which they could teach students. Xuan Yunpo clearly knew this as well, so his expression became a lot more solemn. He stared at Liu Mubai seriously. "Can you make me the best spear wielder in the world?" The moment he said this, a commotion broke out. All the students looked at Xuan Yunpo with wide open eyes and mouth, wanting to ask him, "Are you a fool?" "Young man, everyone has the dream of becoming a sword saint or spear saint." However, no one would voice it out because the possibility of achieving it was close to zero. Everyone could only think about it. To think that this Xuan Yunpo had asked this question so solemnly, they felt so ashamed about this. Of course, all of them thought that he was being too full of himself. Liu Mubai fell silent. "I understand." Xuan Yunpo turned and left. People started talking amongst themselves. And some teachers who had initially thought well of Xuan Yunpo couldn't help but shake their heads as well. This kid was talented, but his emotional intelligence was too low. Questions like this were quite difficult to answer. Even secondary saints wouldn't dare to assure their disciples would become the best in one aspect, let alone great teachers. "Teacher Liu, there's no need to take this to heart. Once a student like him suffers a few times and grows up, he'll know how foolish his question was." Lian Zheng was afraid that this matter might affect Liu Mubai's mood. "Teacher Lian, you're overthinking things. We should be happy if the youngsters have great ambitions." Liu Mubai smiled, giving off a sunshine vibe and dazzling all of the girls present until they felt like screaming. Hee. Zhang Sheng felt happy inside. It felt very exhilarating that someone else couldn't get what he wanted to get. "You aren't going to give it a try?" Rongbo teased. "We'll see if we have an affinity later." Sun Mo scanned through the place, wanting to find the student with extremely high potential value, which he had seen earlier. However, that student was nowhere to be found. Many teachers had their eyes on Xuan Yunpo since Liu Mubai viewed him in high regard. However, Sun Mo wasn't going to go in the scramble as it would make him appear more inferior. "The way you're composing yourself has the demeanor of a great teacher." Rongbo gave Sun Mo a thumbs up. "Aren't you going to treat me to a meal?" Sun Mo felt curious. Given Rongbo's status as a 4-star great teacher, the chances of him successfully recruiting Xuan Yunpo would be very high. However, Rongbo clearly wasn't intending on doing so. "Shouldn't you be the one to play host?" Rongbo countered. However, he still treated Sun Mo to a meal. Seeing Rongbo's departing view after they bade goodbye, Sun Mo reminded Lu Xiaoyuo, "Didn't you want to be the student of a great teacher?" "He is a 4-star great teacher." "Huh?" Lu Xiaoyuo gasped. "Go on. It's a rare opportunity." After saying that, Sun Mo planned to head to the library to take a look. All of the school's facilities were open today, and he felt that students who would go to the library should be those who loved to study. Sun Mo walked for about 10 or so meters when Lu Xiaoyuo came running after him and then continued to stay by his side. Sun Mo was perplexed. "I'm so stupid. He'd definitely not want me." Lu Xiaoyuo wore a self-ridiculing smile. If she had an outstanding aptitude, then he'd have asked her some questions long ago. Since they hadn't spoken for the entire morning, it was clear that he didn't care for her. "Don't think too much about it." Sun Mo rubbed Lu Xiaoyuo's hair. Sensing Sun Mo's concern, Lu Xiaoyuo felt a lot better. Evening came, but Sun Mo still didn't manage to get any student. Instead, Lu Xiaoyuo was the one who was feeling very anxious. "We'll see how it goes tomorrow." Sun Mo sent Lu Xiaoyuo back to the warehouse where she was temporarily residing. After walking over, he saw a group of students having a private fight here. Bang! A student was sent flying by a silver spear, smashing against the wall and bringing up a lot of dust. Next, Xuan Yunpo's gaze was that of despise. "I'll have a go." A muscular-looking student who was wielding a saber jumped in. As he didn't want to let Xuan Yunpo recover his stamina, he immediately launched his attack. After Liu Mubai's attempt to recruit him, Xuan Yunpo's reputation rose rapidly. Some students couldn't accept this, and some of them wanted to prove that they were better than him by defeating him. They felt that they'd then be able to be viewed by the great teachers in high regard. Therefore, there had been a ceaseless line of people challenging Xuan Yunpo to a private battle. In order not to be discovered, everyone hid in a secluded warehouse area. Xuan Yunpo didn't care. He felt happy as long as he could battle. After 36 moves, Xuan Yunpo swept out his silver spear, pushing back the muscular student's saber and then lashing the back of his spear on his lower leg. Pa. The muscular student immediately dropped to his knees. When he saw the silver spear rapidly sweeping toward him, he cried out for mercy. I've lost. Swoosh. The silver spear stopped right in front of the muscular student's face, and Xuan Yunpo broke into a smile. Let me tell you, even if I don't have any stamina, it won't be an issue to take care of you. All right, next. The muscular student's countenance turned a little grim when his scheme was noticed. When the other students saw Xuan Yunpo, they started to fear him and didn't dare to challenge him anymore. Next. Xuan Yunpo shouted out again, but no one answered him. Looking at the sky and seeing that it was a little late, he took out a piece of cotton cloth and wiped his silver spear carefully. What are you guys doing? Sun Mo frowned. Who allowed you to have private battles here? There's a teacher. Someone shouted out, and all the students scattered off. The only ones left behind were 3 young intern teachers. Qin Fen was one of them. Everyone's gazes met for a moment, then turned away. After carefully wiping his beloved silver spear and putting the cover back on it, Xuan Yunpo sat under the roof, took out a plain bun from his bag, and started eating. 2 of the intern teachers wanted to approach him but were hesitant and lacked confidence. Qin Fen, on the other hand, walked over after tidying out his clothes. He sat down next to Xuan Yunpo. Can you make me the best spearmaster in the world? Xuan Yunpo went straight to the point with the same question. Even if a secondary saint was here, they won't be able to answer this question. There are too many factors to consider in order for one to become a spear saint. Qin Fen didn't falter but started chatting with Xuan Yunpo like a like-minded elder brother. The atmosphere was very amicable. The other 2 intern teachers instantly felt nervous. It couldn't be that Qin Fen was going to succeed, right? They wanted to go up and interrupt their talk, but Qin Fen immediately glared at them. His vicious gaze caused them to stop in their footsteps. Teacher. Lu Xiruo tugged at Sun Mo's sleeve, also feeling worried. Sun Mo didn't disturb them. He stood there and looked at Xuan Yunpo. 14 years old. 5th level of the body refinement realm. Strength, 8. Valiant. Intellect, 5. It's a little low. Agility, 8. If the opponent thinks that you're a strength type fighter, they definitely suffer the big time. Endurance, 9. A steel person who won't die from running. Will, 5. This is your shortcoming. Potential value, extremely high. Remark, he only thinks about martial arts and battles, so he has lower emotional intelligence. He is a little one-track minded and doesn't know how to be flexible. What terrifying statistics and potential. This was what a real genius was like, being a rare find even amongst 10,000. He was unlike Qi Shengjie, someone who could be found everywhere on the streets. In this world where martial prowess was revered, a seed like Xuan Yunpo was someone that any great teacher would crave to have as their disciple. As long as given proper guidance, he'd definitely be able to shine. Qin Fen graduated from Jixia Learning Palace and had both high intelligence and emotional quotients. It only took him a few words to draw his relationship closer to Xuan Yunpo. It's too easy to deal with a hot-headed person like this. Qin Fen felt proud to see Xuan Yunpo smiling. Then how do you think I'm lacking in my spear art? Xuan Yunpo asked. This is bad. The 2 intern teachers felt very anxious, but there was nothing they could do. The feeling was as if they were watching a beach of immortality that they had been keeping their eyes on being plucked by someone else. If they didn't need to take any responsibility for killing Qin Fen, they would have done that long ago. Your spear arts are excellent. You should continue training in the same manner and gain more battle experience. Qin Fen smiled. In his eyes, the other intern teachers weren't even worthy of being his opponent. Xuan Yunpo fell silent. This wasn't the answer he was looking for. I'm a student of the Jixia Learning Palace. I'll return to my alma mater and search for spear arts manuals, then I'll study them carefully and seek help from my teacher. I'll definitely not waste your talent. Qin Fen looked straight at Xuan Yunpo, sounding very sincere. How shameless. The 2 intern teachers felt a strong sense of defeat. People who graduated from famous schools had great connections. Xuan Yunpo hesitated. No matter how low his emotional intelligence was, he knew the benefits of following a teacher who had graduated from a famous school. Liu Mubai is very strong, but because of this, He will definitely have a lot of personal disciples in the future, and the amount of effort and resources he'll give you wouldn't be much then. As for me, I can guarantee that you'll be my first personal disciple and I'll place greater emphasis on nurturing you. This was his assurance. Seeing that Xuan Yunpo seemed to be wavering, the corners of Qin Fen's lips curled up uncontrollably. Who said that intern teachers wouldn't be able to recruit geniuses? I'll show you guys. Will you mew by? I'll prove that I'm no weaker than you. Just as Qin Fen was about to elaborate on the benefits he could offer, Sun Mo spoke up. There's a problem with your spear art. Swoosh. Xuan Yunpo immediately looked over as he was greatly infatuated in spear arts. What problem do I have? Ha! You want to join in the competition? Although Qin Fen continued to maintain a humble appearance, he clearly looked down on this intern teacher. His name seemed to be Sun Mo. If it wasn't because this guy was Xin Huai's fiancée, Qin Fen wouldn't have remembered his name amongst over 210 intern teachers. The two intern teachers were also extremely surprised. Can't I? Sun Mo asked. No, please start your performance. Qin Fen appeared very magnanimous. Chapter 35. First Personal Disciple. The setting sun cast its light on Sun Mo's face. On the side, Lu Xiaoyue was biting her lips, praying for him in her heart. There's a flaw in your character. All sorts of data on Xuan Yunpo appeared right before Sun Mo. Ha! What are you talking about? Qin Fen let out a stifled laugh, thinking that Sun Mo was trying to fool others. You cultivate the prairie blazing fire spear technique which pursues pressing forward courageously, fighting to one's last breath. Sun Mo ignored Qin Fen. Xuan Yunpo's eyes lit up, and he started to pay attention. Please go on. He knows about Xuan Yunpo's spear technique? Qin Fen was astonished and his heart beat fiercely, almost jumping out from his throat. To be honest, Qin Fen didn't recognize the technique. No. Sun Mo must have seen it by chance before. It must be a coincidence. There's no way that he has more experience than me, a graduate from Jixia Learning Palace. To reach the apex in spear art, one must comprehend the state of one with the spear, but your character is too indecisive for it. Grandmaster grade Divine Sight could list out the target's strengths and weaknesses. After Sun Mo sorted through the data, he came up with this conclusion. Xuan Yunpo sank into deep thought. At the sight of this, Qin Fen felt anxious. Don't listen to his gibberish. Youngsters like you tend to have an unstable temperament. You'll naturally become firm and decisive after you gain more experiences in life. Look, you're hesitating right now, Sun Mo pointed out. Before Sun Mo finished his words, Qin Fen bellowed furiously, shut up. You call this guidance? This is a hoax. The two intern teachers were shocked. Qin Fen had always appeared refined and calm in front of others. They hadn't expected that he would have such a crazy side to him as well. It did make sense. If they were in his shoes, watching as the prey that had gotten into their hands being snatched away, they wouldn't be in a good temper either. What you said isn't right. I'm unafraid of death. My spear technique is very forceful, not giving up until my last breath. Xuan Yunpo shook his head. What does unafraid of death have to do with your indecisiveness? I'm saying that you shouldn't be indecisive in your daily life or when you come in contact with others. Sun Mo explained. Have you heard of a saying before? What? Xuan Yunpo was curious. Sometimes living on requires greater courage than committing suicide does. Sun Mo recalled his classmate from university who hadn't been able to withstand the pressure from life. He had committed suicide in a bid to escape from reality. Xuan Yunpo was stunned. Memories from his past surged out from the depths of his mind, and his expression turned extremely solemn. Xuan Yunpo, he's just trying to dupe you. What that can help you grow is still one's teaching capabilities. You can ask him if he has the confidence to beat me in this aspect. Qin Fen felt unsettled. On the other hand, Lu Xiaoyue clenched her small fists and shuddered nervously. Sun Mo stopped talking. He kept his right hand behind his back and his left on the wooden blade, his eyes looking at Xuan Yunpo calmly. No matter how much he wanted a genius disciple, he mustn't lose his front as a teacher. Sun Mo didn't want to howl out in exasperation like Qin Fen. Xuan Yunpo looked at Sun Mo and then at Qin Fen. Smiling, he lowered his head and stroked the marks on his spear. You're right. I indeed have an indecisive character. Xuan Yunpo, Don't listen to his gibberish. Seeing him like this, Qin Fen became anxious. If you want to become a spear saint, other than talent, you'll also need to rely on a tremendous amount of resources. I can provide you with these. Qin Fen made his offer, trying to tempt him. Teacher, he's tempted. Quickly say something. Lu Xiaoyu mumbled softly. However, Sun Mo didn't say anything, knowing that silence had a greater prowess in this situation. Moreover, he hadn't stopped with his psychological battle. He had calculated the place at which he was standing right now, and he happened to have his back against the setting sun. From Xuan Yunpo's angle, the orange-red evening glow was casting down on Sun Mo, making his disposition stand out even more. The old principal from number 2 high school had once said that as a teacher, one's disposition was very important. One must learn to make use of the environment to build up the atmosphere and influence the students. That can't be. This kid is going to choose Sun Mo. The 2 intern teachers didn't even dare to breathe too heavily as they watched this. However, they also admitted that Sun Mo's words were very provocative. Qin Fen was anxious and his eyes turned red, but he still could think rationally. He wanted to let Xuan Yunpo understand that Sun Mo's teaching capabilities were lacking. Therefore, his gaze landed on Lu Xiaoyu. Are you his personal disciple? Qin Fen questioned. Lu Xiaoyu backed off in surprise, shrinking her neck back. Her gaze started to dart around as she had the urge to find somewhere to hide. Ha, my gamble's right. I knew it. Qin Fen was laughing hard in his heart. Working with the principle of taking someone's life while he was sick, he continued with his questioning. Sun Mo, it seems like you treat her very well. Are you not taking her as your disciple because you feel that you're incapable and don't want to hinder her? Or does she not care for you? This question was very cutting. Xuan Yunpo looked toward Lu Xiaoyu, and she panicked even more. Feeling nervous and afraid that she'd hold up Sun Mo's affair, tears started trickling down her face. Don't be scared. Sun Mo turned and walked up to Lu Xiaoyu, rubbing her head. Even if I don't manage to recruit Xuan Yunpo, I won't blame you. You don't have to blame yourself. Teacher Sun. Lu Xiaoyu felt like she was lying on bed sheets that had been sunned after hearing Sun Mo's gentle voice. Her entire body relaxed and then she bit her lips, dropping to her knees. Teacher Sun Mo, student Lu Xiaoyu makes a bold request for you to take me as your disciple. Lu Xiaoyu kowtowed. What? Qin Fen and the 2 intern teachers were greatly astonished. They had thought that Qin Fen had managed to turn the tables around, but hadn't expected that his trump card turned out to be one that killed himself. Xiaoyu, you don't have to do this for my sake. Sun Mo bent over and took Lu Xiaoyu's arm. Get up. No. This is out of my own accord. Lu Xiaoyu continued to stay down. Her forehead pressed down on the grass, and she could smell the dust. That was right. She had come out to learn, so why didn't she understand things? Her father said that she was trash. She had traveled long distances but wasn't able to meet the great teachers she had visited. She had taken many tests and also asked some seniors, all of which proved that she had an extremely bad aptitude. However, she still had the wishful thought of learning under a great teacher. During the journey, Sun Mo was the one who had treated her the best. He had given her osmanthus cake, pear blossom candy, hot buns, and a place to stay. The teachers she had visited in the past all despised her aptitude, but what Sun Mo was first worried about was her feelings. The funny thing was that she had waited for so long. She should have asked to become his disciple a long time ago. At the thought of this, Lu Xiaoyu straightened her back and then gave another hard kowtow. Bang! Teacher Sun, please take me in as your student. Lu Xiaoyu was very sincere. Are you crazy? You aren't going to consider your future? Qin Fen cried out. What was this? Have you really considered things thoroughly? Sun Mo's tone was solemn. Yes. Although it was a simple reply, it was the most serious one that Lu Xiaoyu had ever given in her life. All right then. I'll take you in as my disciple. Sun Mo smiled. He still remembered the horrible data belonging to Lu Xiaoyu, but why did that matter? Since she couldn't become a great master in martial arts, then she could just aim to develop in other directions. He had always believed that as long as a person put their heart into things, any student would be able to shine. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Xiaoruo gave 3 hard kowtows and then stood up. A smile broke out on her tear-stricken innocent face. Ha ha. Sun Mo lifted his hand and wiped off the dust on Lu Xiaoruo's forehead. Teacher. This teacher sounded very sweet, and the meaning it represented was also different from before. Sun Mo answered, feeling that there was suddenly an additional responsibility on his shoulder now. You guys. Qin Fen wanted to say that this was an act meant to dupe Xuan Yunpo, but he didn't dare to do so. It was because in Middle-earth's 9 provinces, formal acknowledgement of one as their teacher was something that mustn't be faked. Once discovered, the people involved would be banished to the Darkness Continent, with no possibility of getting saved in their lifetime. Ha ha. Xuan Yunpo broke out into a loud laugh and then carried his silver spear, walking towards Sun Mo in huge strides. Are you crazy? Qin Fen reached out his hand, wanting to pull Xuan Yunpo back. But how could he possibly stop something like this from happening? Teacher Sun Mo, please accept my bow. The sight of Xuan Yunpo, with his height of over 1.8 meters and a muscular body, was as if a mountain of gold had been pushed and jade pillars had been toppled, as he dropped to his knees. When he smashed his forehead to the ground, it was as though some kind of metal was clanking. You still have a chance to regret your decision. Sun Mo didn't put on a proud front but asked him again. If the student was going to regret in the future, then it'd be better off that they didn't establish this relationship in the first place. I, Xuan Yunpo, won't ever regret the things I say and do. Xuan Yunpo recalled Sun Mo's assessment of him. It was true that he should be more decisive about things. Since he had already done it, then he shouldn't regret his decisions. He bowed once again. Please grant me my wish, teacher. All right, I'll take you in as my disciple. After Sun Mo said that, Xuan Yunpo gave 3 loud kowtows. You guys. The sight of this scene agitated Qin Fen. He had a strong urge to hammer Sun Mo's head and smash it. He wasn't able to accept such a defeat. My God. The 2 intern teachers were so shocked that their jaws dropped to the ground. How could Xuan Yunpo acknowledge an intern teacher like Sun Mo as his master? This was too unbelievable. Senior martial sister. Xuan Yunpo smiled at Lu Xiaoruo. Over the 1 year plus, he had been fretting over such trivial matters. Now that he had acknowledged a teacher and things were decided, he followed what Sun Mo said, no longer being irresolute. He threw away all those things. Just as he tossed away those thoughts, Xuan Yunpo immediately felt his entire body relaxing. The bottleneck that he had been in for several months now showed signs of breaking through. Xuan Yunpo felt that he might have acknowledged a talented teacher. Lu Xiaoruo instantly felt at a loss and subconsciously hid behind Sun Mo. To think that there'd come a day where she'd be called senior martial sister, what a strange feeling. However, more of her feelings was that of horror and anxiety. She was worried that she might not be able to do well in this position, to be a good example to her martial junior. All right, things are over now. Let's go and have a meal to celebrate. Sun Mo felt very happy to have gained 2 personal disciples in one go, one of which was a genius. This was an exhilarating feeling. I have gained some insights and want to meditate on it. Xuan Yunpo reported and then sat down in lotus position. Sun Mo had no other choice. He couldn't possibly leave by himself and thus could only wait. The 2 intern teachers exchanged a glance, not knowing if they should go offer their congratulations or not. At this moment, Gixuk-san appeared in her blue robes. Chapter 36. Rare monster snatched by a newbie player. No matter where a great beauty like Gixuk-san went to, she would always be the center of attention. The 2 intern teachers straightened their postures and looked more energized. Behaving as if they were cocks in heat that were fighting for the right to mate, they instantly brought out their most perfect posture. Teacher-gu. The 2 intern teachers went up, greeting her enthusiastically. Even the angered Qin Fen also took a deep breath and calmed the annoyance and anger in his heart. Gixuk-san nodded, greeting everyone in turn. She gave off a very good feeling. Teacher-gu is here for Xuan Yunpo. Qin Fen knew that he had no hope, but he didn't wish for trash like Sun Mo to get his hands on Xuan Yunpo either. Seeing Gixuk-san's arrival, he immediately schemed in his mind. That's right. Gixuk-san might seem calm on the surface, but she was secretly gloating. Qin Fen must have failed because of how angry he looked. This was why they said that the recruitment of a student wasn't determined by the order of appearance, but by one's strength. Then you've come late. He has already acknowledged a teacher. The uglier intern teacher took this chance to get close to Gixuk-san, trying to get into her good books. He could smell the fragrance coming from Gixuk-san and had a strong urge to take a deep whiff. Huh? Gixuk-san lost her cool and was no longer smiling. She stared at Qin Fen. In her opinion, the other three weren't considered a threat, and her only enemy was Qin Fen, who came from the Jixia Learning Palace. There's no need to stare like that. It's not me. Qin Fen shrugged. Then who is it? Gixuk-san first looked toward the uglier intern teacher and then turned toward the ordinarily ugly-looking intern teacher. She then smiled. I don't like such jokes. Gixuk-san was someone of ambition. She wanted to help Headmaster Xin Hui, whom she admired, to get the Central Province Academy back up. After entering the school, she immediately devoted herself entirely to her work. She had already gained some slight achievements. As a female teacher, and a beautiful one at that, Gixuk-san had a very big advantage. Almost all of the students whom she had guided while working as a teaching assistant fell to her charm. In order to get 10 genius students from the student recruitment meet and break a new record, Gixuk-san had made many preparations a long time ago. When she noticed Xuan Yunpo this morning, she arranged for 5 students to follow him, and they would report his situation in half-an-hour intervals. Gixuk-san was in no hurry. It was because a student would be very careful when acknowledging a teacher. After all, their future was on the line. Moreover, she also had a few fixed targets to recruit and mustn't waste her time. Geniuses like Xuan Yunpo, who was highly regarded by Liu Mubai, must have many teachers coming to recruit him. Gixuk-san didn't wish to fight with those people since it'd make her appear as if she was lacking in class. Therefore, she only came in the evening when there were fewer teachers. According to Gixuk-san's plan, Xuan Yunpo would definitely come into contact with many teachers throughout the day. He would also listen to many guidances, promises, and self-recommendations. Gixuk-san believed that her performance would definitely be able to win against those other teachers, giving Xuan Yunpo a stark comparison. He would know that she, Gixuk-san, was the most outstanding out of them all. Of course, after being surrounded and bombarded for the entire day, Xuan Yunpo would be feeling mentally fatigued. Therefore, his ability to consider things would naturally drop, which would also increase her chances of winning. After putting in so much effort, she was told that this guy had been recruited by someone when she had just met him and hadn't done anything yet. If it wasn't because she had to maintain her image, Gixuk-san would definitely smash the heads of these 2 intern teachers. I'm not joking. The uglier one of them quickly explained, worried that he'd offend Gixuk-san. Sun Mo felt like laughing when he saw the uglier and ugly intern teachers hanging around Gixuk-san, currying up to her, worried that they'd anger her. He looked at Gixuk-san and some data appeared. Then who has he been recruited by? You? Gixuk-san's tone sounded a little cold. She was thinking that if someone like this ugly guy could recruit Xuan Yunpo, then she'd kneel and lick his shoes. It's him. The ugly intern teacher pointed at Sun Mo. Gixuk-san turned and looked toward Sun Mo dubiously. That's right. Qin Fen chipped in, sharing the entire story of what had happened earlier. In the end, he put out both his hands and shrugged. I'm not as eloquent and can't win against him in words. That's right. I feel that such guidance sounds more like sophistry. The ugly intern teacher didn't wish for Sun Mo to stand out before Gixuk-san and thus vilified him. It's a hoax, isn't it? The uglier one sounded even more hostile. Gixuk-san fell silent, assessing Sun Mo with a hostile gaze. How could she not feel angry when her prey had been snatched away? However, most of what she felt was helpless gloominess. She had thought that her competitors would be Liu Mubai and the other full-time teachers. Some of them could even be great teachers. Thus, she hadn't expected Sun Mo to succeed. This felt as if she had been sharpening her blade, preparing to snatch a rare monster from a group of elite players. However, the rare monster ended up being killed by a newbie player. Why is it him? At this moment, Gixuk-san, who had always maintained her disposition of a graceful lady, felt like cursing. She couldn't accept a loss like this. That's right. Why is it him? The two ugly intern teachers agreed. They wouldn't mind if they had lost to Liu Mubai or even Qin Fen. However, it felt really bad that they had lost to Sun Mo. The kid had been duped. If you were to step in, there might be a chance of salvaging things. Qin Fen wore a pained expression. Xuan Yunpo's aptitude isn't bad, but he'd probably be a goner if he were to land in Sun Mo's hands. Xuan looked at Qin Fen and then followed him to walk up to Sun Mo. Lu Xiaoruo immediately felt nervous and shrank to hide behind Sun Mo. Xuan didn't say anything. She went on her tiptoes and inclined her body forward, staring into Sun Mo's eyes. It was as if she was a feline that was confronting its opponent in order to fight for the prey. Xuan wanted to see through him, and she recalled her encounter with him at the battle hall. Could this guy have some capabilities? Are you hoping that I'll kiss you? Sun Mo spoke up. Huh? The two ugly intern teachers gasped, and Qin Fen's lips twitched, wanting to scold Sun Mo and ask if he was a fool. Xuan clearly wanted to bite him to death. Xuan, who had appeared aggressive, became like a punctured leather ball, losing her disposition. This was especially so after she saw Sun Mo inclining his body forward, as if wanting to kiss her. She quickly backed off in surprise, keeping her distance away from him. Sun Mo was amused. Xuan's anxious expression was a little cute. Xuan knew that she had been fooled and was very angry. She hadn't been taken advantage of like this over so many years, but after Sun Mo's teasing, her hostility had dissipated by a lot. You won't be so lucky next time. Xuan left, taking graceful steps. Her fair neck made her look like a swan. She has finally left. Lu Xiaoruo patted her chest. Xuan's disposition earlier was scary. Teacher Gu. Qin Fen frowned. This wasn't the outcome that he wanted. Xuan didn't bother to turn back. Want to make use of me? Dream on. Unable to get Xuan Yunpo, Qin Fen wanted Xuan to seize the student. Even if she didn't succeed, it'd at least make Sun Mo feel upset. I won't fall for the trick. Xuan was someone with a baseline. She wouldn't do something like snatching someone else's student. Moreover, she had her own consideration as well. After Xuan Yunpo followed Sun Mo for a while and found out that he was unable to perform as a teacher, Xuan Yunpo would want to leave. The chances of her success would be higher if she waited until then to make a move. That's right. I can look for Xuan Yunpo at a suitable time, to talk about mundane matters and increase his good impression of me. Xuan quickly came up with a plan in her mind. Qin Fen didn't wish to see Sun Mo's face and swung his sleeve, leaving. The two ugly intern teachers both looked at Xuan's back and then went after her. Even if they couldn't talk to her, it would be good if they could admire the view for a little longer. Even salted fish had dreams. Maybe there'd come a day where they'd be able to touch her. The surroundings finally turned quiet. Just like someone who had managed to get good equipment in the game and couldn't help but take it out to admire it, Sun Mo activated his divine sight and marveled at Xuan Yunpo's data. Oh, compared to earlier, his will has strengthened slightly. Now it's 6. Remark. The target's mental state has grown and his will naturally increased. Is this thanks to me? Sun Mo felt a little agitated. That's right. This is the effect of a teacher. Please continue to work hard and nurture Xuan Yunpo well. The system cheered for Sun Mo. Sun Mo heaved out a long exhale. Although he had successfully taken Xuan Yunpo as his disciple, he was a little worried that he might not be capable enough and waste this seed's future. Seeing that his will had increased by 1, Sun Mo now felt a lot more confident. Ding! Congratulations, you've finally gained your first personal disciple, taking a big stride on the great teacher path. You're rewarded with a mysterious treasure chest. I hope that you'll obtain greater achievements from now on. As the system's notification rang out, a big treasure chest that was shrouded in purple light appeared before Sun Mo. Oh, there's also a reward. This was a pleasant surprise. The big treasure chest emitted a mysterious yet magnificent aura. It was clearly different from the bitchy lucky treasure chest. Do you want to open it? The system asked. Of course. Sun Mo patted the papaya girl's head. He should continue to ride on his wave of great luck today. He might just end up with something amazing. Lu Xiaoruo tilted her head and blinked her big eyes as she looked at Sun Mo, not understanding why he was suddenly patting her head. However, she didn't dislike the feeling. On the contrary, she did enjoy it a little. The purple mysterious treasure chest opened upon command, and a tremendous amount of fog spewed out in all directions, like the steam coming from China's green train from the past. The treasure chest was then gradually revealed. A book that was glowing in purple light quietly floated in the air, like a bride waiting to get married, waiting for Sun Mo to touch it. "I'm done." Yuanbo jumped up and pounded his chest hard. He felt that his condition was amazing, and he had a strong urge to have a fight immediately. No, he couldn't wait. "Teacher Sun, you guys can go and have your meal. I'll go and fight." Yuanbo picked up his spear, jumping up onto the warehouse's roof and disappearing without a trace before Sun Mo could say anything. Chapter 37. Why is it him? This Qin Fen felt that it was a humiliation to have failed to recruit Yuanpo as his student and thus wouldn't speak of it to others. However, the two ugly intern teachers didn't have the same concerns. The process in which Sun Mo had convinced Yuanpo made them speechless. It was like a toad having gotten to eat swan meat, and it was far too surprising. Therefore, after they returned to the dorm, they couldn't wait to share this matter to their dorm mates. And then the news spread wider and wider. On the second day of the student recruitment meet, the school continued to be swarming with people. Seated in the canteen, Zhang Sheng stirred the watery porridge in front of him, wearing a dim expression. His legs had almost broken from all the running around yesterday, and he had spoken so much that his voice was hoarse now. However, he hadn't even managed to recruit a single student. Don't be feeling down. This is how difficult it is for an intern teacher to recruit a student. I've been rejected over 20 times yesterday. Yuan Feng bite on his bun, only able to vent his frustrations on food. Zhang Sheng couldn't be bothered to care about Yuan Feng. However, at the thought of how he had been rejected for over 30 times as well, his countenance turned grim. They are all fools, having no idea what they're missing out on. Zhang Sheng felt that the students who had rejected him didn't know what was good for them. Lu Dai ate his rice porridge. After finishing this, he would still have to rush back to braise pig trotters. He knew his worth and thus hadn't thought of recruiting students. As long as I can get teachers to write good ratings about me, I will have the right to stay in school. Lu Dai didn't have high expectations. He wanted to first stay in the school and then slowly climb up. Have you guys heard? Sun Mo managed to dupe Yuanpo to be his student. That can't be true, right? Yuanpo didn't even care for Liu Mu Bai. How could he possibly accept Sun Mo? Didn't Sun Mo go to the logistics department? Does he have the right to take in disciples? The intern teachers from the next table were talking amongst themselves as they ate. Yuan Feng was curious and got closer to them. After hearing some of their talks, he was extremely astonished. Are you guys joking? Where did you hear this from? Someone like Sun Mo can manage to recruit Yuanpo? Someone saw it with their own eyes. Moreover, Qin Fen and Gixuxun were present at that time as well. Before this intern teacher could finish his words, he heard a loud bang that gave him a big fright. He turned and saw that it was Zhang Sheng who had slammed his chopsticks onto the table. Bullshit. Zhang Sheng bellowed furiously. How is that Sun Mo worthy? That's right. If Gixuxun and Qin Fen were present, then it'd be even more impossible for Yuanpo to pick Sun Mo. Yuan Feng sat back and continued to eat his breakfast. Don't spread false rumors. Sun Mo must have gotten people to disseminate the rumors in order to spread his name and make it easier for him to recruit students. Hearing Yuan Feng said that, the intern teachers started to feel dubious about the matter. After all, the chances of Sun Mo recruiting Yuanpo were definitely zero. So that's how it is. Zhang Sheng, who was feeling angry, was struck by a realization. I knew it. If it's something I can't do, it'd be impossible for Sun Mo to do it either. In an office in the teaching building, there weren't any classes during these few days, but the full-time teachers weren't slacking either. Putting aside the fact that they were also choosing students, classes would start officially after the student recruitment meet ended. They would need to prepare the lesson plans and other documents in advance. Zilin pushed the door and entered, smiling before she said anything. Teachers, do you guys have any halls? It's Assistant Lin. Teacher Zushani, who was a little fat, patted his stomach and said, Why? Are you here to find out news for Headmaster In? I'm also very concerned about you guys. Zilin pretended to be angry and rolled her eyes. However, Teacher Zhu wasn't infuriated but enjoyed it instead. No matter what beautiful women did, it could be tolerated. Didn't the school gather some information about those outstanding students and gave it to us? I've gone around and saw quite a few of them, so I have quite a haul. Teacher Jiang Yongnian, who always had his hair tidied neatly, picked up his teacup and took a sip, wearing a relaxed expression. He had just reached 30 years old and thus was quite competitive. Strong teaching capabilities weren't dependent on talk but the results. What were the results? To see if a teacher could produce outstanding students. And the first step of doing so was to recruit students. Although the school didn't provide any rewards, the teachers would all be competing both in the open and in the dark during the annual student recruitment meet, fighting for the outstanding students. Oh, then I'll have to congratulate Teacher Jiang. Zilin congratulated. Liu Mubai, with his high expectations, had taken a liking to a young man called Xuan Yuanpo. But what did you think happened? Jiang Yongnian stroked the teacup, wearing a smile on his face. What happened? Zilin asked. The guy rejected him. Although Jiang Yongnian was a one-star great teacher, he knew that Liu Mubai, who hadn't gotten the one-star great teacher title, was a strong opponent. Therefore, he felt very happy to see Liu Mubai being defeated. The youngsters these days are too prideful. They'll only realize what a precious opportunity they've lost after encountering setbacks. Lian Zheng viewed Liu Mubai in high regard and was very angry toward Xuan Yuanpo. Was it because a great teacher with stars had made a move? Zilin wasn't surprised. Even Xin Hui had high expectations of Liu Mubai. However, the students didn't know that. No, Jiang Yongnian kept them in suspense. Why don't you make a guess? Could it be a teacher amongst you all? Zilin looked around, thinking of good things and praises she could say. That's not it either. Jiang Yongnian shook his head. Zilin fell silent, her countenance turning grim. Her intelligence and emotional quotient weren't bad. Since Jiang Yongnian kept on denying her guesses, it meant that the teacher who had gotten Xuan Yuanpo must be very special. Then, a thought struck her. Could it be Xiuxun? That was it. It would only be a surprise if an intern teacher managed to recruit a genius. Try again. Jiang Yongnian chuckled. By the way, it's not those 3 graduates from the 9 famous schools either. Zilin frowned. She had gone through those intern teachers' information herself and had memorized them. There wasn't anyone who stood out amongst them. What's that? A guess? It's Sun Mo. Lian Zheng was displeased. The reason Jiang Yongnian was saying this was to taunt Liu Mubai. He was telling everyone indirectly that Liu Mubai had lost to an intern teacher. Who? Zilin instantly stretched her neck up, like a fighting cock that had encountered an enemy. It's Sun Mo. Jiang Yongnian fueled the conversation, sharing what he had heard. But this kid is really sly. To think that he knew how to play with words. The teachers in the office didn't say anything, but they shared similar sentiments, feeling that Sun Mo had tricked the naive Xuan Yuanpo with his words. I feel that Sun Mo's status as headmaster and's fiancée has a greater effect. Lian Zheng felt that Sun Mo was taking advantage of headmaster and's authority. If he were to bring out this identity, even adults who didn't know of the story would be scammed, let alone students. No matter what it is, Xuan Yuanpo, who has good potential, is probably going to be wasted. Jiang Yongnian sighed. If he was the one teaching Xuan Yuanpo, he would definitely gain a position in the Green Cloud rankings. Zilin chatted with them for a little longer before leaving. She then headed straight to the headmaster's office. What's the matter? Xin Hui heard the sound of Zilin's anxious footsteps and thought that something serious had happened. Xuan Yuanpo has acknowledged Sun Mo as his teacher. Zilin quickly shared the news she had heard earlier. It's still not too late now. Quickly get Sun Mo to give up on Xuan Yuanpo and pass him to Liu Mubai. Calm down first. Xin Hui passed a cup of water to Zilin. How am I supposed to calm down? If this carries on, that Xuan Yuanpo will be wasted. Zilin was very anxious. To the current Central Province Academy, all students with good potential mustn't be wasted. It was only by producing outstanding students would they have the right to be one of the 9 aristocratic schools again. The summer wind blew in, causing Xin Hui's hair to flutter. Eldest Miss, That guy is definitely scamming people using his status of being your fiancé. He must be warned. Otherwise, many students with good potential would be held back by him. Zilin was infuriated. That won't happen. Xin Huai shook her head as she recalled distant memories. Sun Mo isn't that kind of person. My dear eldest miss, people change. You always see others in such a positive light. Zilin felt gloomy. I believe in Sun Mo, Xin Huai insisted. Alright. Even if Sun Mo didn't use his status to dupe others, what will happen in the future? He is just a graduate from Zhongzhou Academy. Will he be able to teach Xuan Yunpo? Zilin snuffed. I've heard that this young man was highly regarded by Liu Mubai, and even a few great teachers had their eyes on him. He must be a genius. What kind of joke is this? Xin Huai continued with her work. Eldest miss, quickly think of a solution. It'd be fine even if it's Xixuxun and Qin Fen who gets Xuan Yunpo. But Sun Mo, why is it him? Zilin was unhappy. It was like seeing a beautiful bride being slept by a smelly, dirty man from next door. Just the thought of it was disgusting. Why can't it be him? Xin Huai countered. It's because. Zilin had a whole bunch of reasons, but before she could list them out, Xin Huai interrupted her. That's enough. Go back to work. Xin Huai's tone was very stern. Although eldest miss treated people very well, she would give off a very imposing feeling whenever she got angry. Zilin didn't dare to defy Xin Huai, so she pouted her lips and then left unwillingly. Xin Huai continued with her work. But there was an additional distraction in her mind now. She put down her brush and walked to the window, looking down at the school ground. Little Momo, it's fine if you can't help me, but I hope that you'll be able to prove yourself and not be belittled by those people. Xin Huai stroked the carvings on the windowsill, looking at the plants in the school. She seemed to be able to see a little boy who was always trailing behind her like a small cat, calling her elder sister, elder sister. Her lips curled up uncontrollably into a smile. This school held beautiful memories from her childhood, and she must protect them. If they wanted to remove this school's qualification rights, they could only do that over her dead body. Sun Mo sat in a corner of the canteen, having porridge while admiring the beautiful book in front of him. It was shrouded in a purple glow, feeling both magnificent and mysterious. System, say it again. Sun Mo requested. Congratulations on obtaining the elementary grade divine tier skill, Immemorial Ver Arcana. 1. A reference to the saying, a toad lusting after a swan's flesh, suggesting that someone craves for another person they aren't worthy of. Chapter 38, Immemorial Ver Arcana. The system's voice was bland and mundane, but as they landed on Sun Mo's ears, they seemed like heavenly voices. Divine skill. Just as its name implied, only the divinities were able to grasp this skill. Just look at its literal meaning. Even a 3-year-old child would know how powerful this cultivation art was. System, say it again. Sun Mo requested. Are you done yet? System was unhappy. This is already the 32nd time. Sorry, I just can't control the agitation in my heart. Sun Mo was an extremely unlucky person. For someone who had never received any consolation prize before, he had picked a divine skill this time around. So how could he not burst into tears? If he were to have a computer, he would have celebrated this joy with some beer and peanuts and played his computer games for 3 whole nights. He had to admit that the massive breasts did increase his luck value, especially when he received this treasure chest only after Lu Xiaoyuo acknowledged him as her master. Sun Mo decided to treat the shy and timid papaya girl better from now onward. Immemorial Ver Arcana. How poetic, how domineering. It's so lovable. Sun Mo could feel the porridge in his mouth become sweeter and more fragrant. You better know when to stop. The system couldn't take it anymore. Grand Universe Formless Divine Art belongs to the Peerless Grade Saint tier skill, and this is a divine skill. Which one is more powerful? Sun Mo was curious. As documented on the library, at Middle-earth 9 provinces, the best cultivation arts belonged to the Saint tier level, and they were deemed to be the least in quantity. Do you still need to ask? There are at least 5 people who know how to use Grand Universe Formless Divine Art. As for Immemorial Ver Arcana, it's exclusive to you. The system spoke with arrogance. I understand now. Sun Mo was very pleased with this answer. "All right, system, you may leave now." If the system was alive, it would have died from anger. Sun Mo dropped his spoon and concentrated on the cultivation arts practice. The moon shines in the past and present. Nothing can hide from it. Even the inconsequential gravels of sand in the Ganges would be fully visible and traceable. The roars for immemorial Vairocana can also be translated into boundless illumination from past till present. Eternal sand has no vestiges. Referencing that to this will make this sentence have more sense. The introduction to the cultivation art had a domineering and strong description. When you attack someone with this skill, a part of their cultivation arts and techniques they learned will be condensed into a page and be beaten out from them. The more you attack, the more pages will pop out. Eventually, they will converge into a book that records the target's complete cultivation art, and you will be able to read it at will. When your proficiency in this skill increases, you can even extract the opponent's insights and experience. At its highest level, this skill can even derive the opponent's entire lifetime of cultivation, converging everything into a book. What did this signify? This signified that the peerless skills and knowledge, which others owned exclusively, would no longer be of secret to Sun Mo. As long as he could hit his opponent, he would be able to see everything. What was the world's most precious thing? It was neither gold and jewelry, nor was it loyalty and freedom. It was knowledge. Only knowledge was eternal. In Middle-earth 9 provinces, the martial Tao reigned supreme. What did one depend on to have a strong martial Tao? Cultivation arts. With immemorial Vairocana, Sun Mo could learn every single one of them. Don't be complacent. Don't be complacent, Sun Mo muttered, warning himself to keep a low profile. Even though this cultivation art was very strong, he needed to study the method of utilizing it. If he were to challenge a saint now, he would be killed before he could learn their exclusive cultivation arts. When playing computer games, Sun Mo always stood by a principle: there was no such thing like the strongest profession, only the strongest player. Even if it was a divine skill, in the hands of different players, it would produce different results. In other words, it wouldn't do if he ignored everything and kept pressing the button Q, continuously spamming one's ultimate. "I'm happy." Sun Mo decided to order one more egg. Nothing was wrong with the skill being in elementary grade. He could take it slow. Petite breasts would eventually develop into big breasts, and underripe girls would become elegant ladies one day. Lu Xiaoyue was sitting at the side, drinking little sips of her porridge and glancing at her teacher from time to time. She could feel his good mood today. After having breakfast, Sun Mo continued cruising through the campus. Through yesterday's observation, he discovered that students with extremely high potential values were equivalent to extremely rare little elves. Not to mention catching, it was even hard to bump into one or two of them. Even students with high potential values were rare. So, I should lower my expectations. Sun Mo decided to be more practical. Li Ziki stopped when she saw the gate of Central Province Academy and tidied the long pink skirt she was wearing. After confirming that her faint makeup was still there, she walked in. "It's all Uncle's fault. Had he not insisted on recommending some great teachers to me, I wouldn't have missed yesterday's attendance. I hope Sun Mo has not recruited any student yet." Looking at those young and tender faces in the campus, Li Ziki felt a little worried as she wanted to become Sun Mo's first disciple. But she soon felt relieved. "Li Ziki, don't scare yourself. Sun Mo is just an intern teacher, so which student would want to be his personal disciple?" Sun Mo must have been rejected continuously and is feeling very dejected now. HMPH, let Li Ziki save you. Just thinking of this, Li Ziki quickened her footsteps. While she was searching for Sun Mo's figure, her mind couldn't help but recall the day when Sun Mo saved her life at Yunting Lake. "If your heart is clear, there's no need to fear any wind and rain." Sun Mo said it so well. Li Ziki murmured. Under the shade of the tree next to the campus, there were more than 10 groups of students squatting around. They had been commanded by their teachers to keep a watch on people. The moment they saw a teacher's targeted student, they must report back immediately. When Li Ziki stepped through the school gate, everyone was expressionless for a moment, and a commotion followed thereafter. Did I see correctly? Isn't that Liziki? The gaze of an average-looking student followed Liziki. He was stunned. Other students were flipping through the information booklets given to them by their teachers. It was of no surprise that the first person on the first page was Liziki. Other students' drawings only consisted of head portraits, while Liziki's drawing had a full-body portrait. What is Liziki doing here? Even if she's not going to the 9 grades, she should at least be at Zhongzhou Academy. An uglier-looking student could not understand. She could be here to join in the fun. Another average-looking student made a guess. But after he spoke, the rest of the students started running off immediately. Hence, he quickly went to report to teacher Jiang. Even though the teachers hadn't specifically mentioned Liziki, since a student like her had arrived at the school, it was mandatory to report back immediately. Otherwise, they would be punished for it. Liziki had only strolled for a while before a middle-aged teacher came up to recommend himself. But after speaking a few sentences, he walked off with disappointment. Look, even such an old guy who has been a teacher for over 10 years stands no chance. It's even more impossible for us. Yuan Feng felt a little nervous and scared. Zhang Sheng frowned as he looked at Liziki. He couldn't stop thinking of ways to convince Liziki to become his student. A student of Liziki's level was actually out of his league. But since he encountered her by chance now, he must seize the opportunity. Should we tell Ludai? Yuan Feng suggested. What is the use of telling him? Zhang Sheng scoffed. Yuan Feng was stunned and couldn't help but let out a mocking smile. What he said was true. What could Ludai be doing here? Would he come to deliver some braised pig trotters? Liziki wasn't Tijizu and would not be enticed by a few pieces of braised meat. Eventually, Zhang Sheng realized that many teachers had come upon hearing the news. Some of them were daring and directly went up to recommend themselves, but the others with lower confidence just followed behind her, not leaving. So many competitors. Zhang Sheng observed his surroundings, calculating his probability of success. When he saw that Qin Fen was about to act, his heart instantly leapt into his throat. It was inevitable. The 3 words Jixia Learning Palace were highly regarded. It took roughly 10 seconds for Liziki to reject him tactfully. Qin Fen stood at the same spot, looking embarrassed. Such a short amount of time. He probably has not even finished his self-introduction. Ludai sighed. It seemed like the title of Jixia Learning Palace's graduate wasn't useful either. See, he has not given up. He is chasing her up again. Zhang Sheng was elated to see how Qin Fen faced defeat. Qin Fen's second round of self-recommendation was naturally fruitless. Liziki wasn't annoyed and managed to reject him politely. This scene caused many unconfident teachers to cower. The morning's sunlight slowly became stronger. After following her for a while, Zhang Sheng started tidying his hair and arranging his collar. He carefully smoothed every crease along his long robe. Zhang Sheng, cheer on, you are the best. After Zhang Sheng displayed his practiced smile, he quickened his footsteps and chased after Liziki. He had decided to act before the great teachers arrived, otherwise, he might even lose the chance to recommend himself. Yuan Feng was stunned for a while before quickly chasing up. Even though he knew he had no chance, he wanted to get to know her as he had never interacted with anyone close to Liziki's status. Hi student Li, I am Zhang Sheng, a graduate of Zhongzhou Academy. Zhang Sheng did not stop Liziki but followed beside her instead. He didn't introduce himself as an intern teacher, otherwise, he would be rejected immediately. I am Yuan Feng. Yuan Feng squeezed out a vibrant smile. Hi, both of you. Liziki continued walking. Is student Li here to take a look around? Zhang Sheng did not go straight to the point. By chatting casually, he wanted to first create a good atmosphere. My gentle voice that sounds like a big brother next door would be able to leave a good impression, right? Zhang Sheng was somewhat complacent. Liziki observed her surroundings. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she ran toward the direction of the nearby flower bed. Teacher Sun. What Sun? Zhang Sheng had prepared more than 10 backup plans to ensure a smooth conversation with Liziki, and he was confident that there would be no awkward silence. However, he was stunned when he heard the words Teacher Sun come out of her mouth. How sad. He didn't even get a chance to speak. Yuan Feng felt a sense of gloat after seeing how Zhang Sheng faced his defeat, but as his gaze followed Liziki's silhouette, his happiness turned into astonishment. Sun Mo was sitting next to the flower bed with a lady in green. She couldn't be calling for Sun Mo, right? Yuan Feng murmured and shook his head. What was I thinking? How could people like Sun Mo get to know Li Ziqi? What kind of joke are you making? Zhang Sheng complained. However, he had a bad premonition because Li Ziqi was running toward Sun Mo, and she even shouted, "Hi teacher Sun, how are you?" Li Ziqi's voice wasn't loud, but under the bright morning sun, her voice pierced the ears of the teachers behind her, giving them a shock. Chapter 39, I'm here to acknowledge you as my master. Sun Mo was talking to Lu Xiaoyue when he heard the yell. When he turned his head, he saw Li Ziqi running toward them. She was wearing a long pink skirt, and her black silky hair was tied with a pink ribbon. As she ran, her ponytail bounced up and down. She was full of vitality. When Lu Xiaoyue saw that a stranger was jogging over, she shut her mouth and cowered behind Sun Mo's back. Oh, a female student? Who is she? And what relationship does she have with teacher Sun? Li Ziqi looked at Lu Xiaoyue's slim fingers. The former couldn't help but feel some unhappiness when she saw the latter holding on to Sun Mo's clothes. Teacher Sun, is she? Li Ziqi was about to question Sun Mo, but because she was distracted, she didn't notice a bump on the road and stumbled. She lost her balance and fell straight toward the ground. It's over. Li Ziqi closed her eyes, thinking that she would be disfigured this time. Luckily, with Sun Mo's sharp eyes and agile hands, he held her elbow in time. Be careful. Sun Mo helped Li Ziqi up and stared at her with divine sight on. Rows and rows of data jumped out in that instant. Potential value, extremely high. Remark, athletic ability, extremely low. Sun Mo ignored the remark straight away as he knew that it was normal for a genius to have a few shortcomings. My shoes don't fit well. Li Ziqi made an excuse to cover up the fact that her motoric senses were bad. At the same time, she quickly diverted the topic. How was it? Did you get a little excited when I called you teacher Sun? Sun Mo shook his head. HMPH. Li Ziqi pouted and looked at Lu Xiaoyue. Who is she? Do you intend to take her as your personal disciple? How's her aptitude? Before Sun Mo could answer, Zhang Sheng and Yuan Feng had walked over. Hey, Sun Mo. Zhang Sheng greeted Sun Mo with a friendly look. In front of an outsider, he had to hide his arrogance toward fellow teachers. Yuan Feng nodded, but his eyes couldn't look away from Lu Xiaoyue's breasts. He had no choice. They were so big that he couldn't control his eyes. Sun Mo, could you guess what I brought you? Li Ziqi called his name directly, wanting to say it a few more times. After all, she would have no more chance to do so in the future. I must have heard it wrongly. Zhang Sheng heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this salutation. He was happy he still had a chance. Do student Li and Sun Mo know each other? Sun Mo was curious and looked at the calf leather satchel hanging on Li Ziqi's waist. It's students' information. Li Ziqi tossed out a thick booklet and passed it to Sun Mo. You don't have to waste your time anymore. You can recruit students more effectively with this booklet. Yuan Feng gulped as he looked at the information booklet and subconsciously reached his hands out to take it. He remembered someone promoting this to him before, but he couldn't bear to buy it as it was too expensive. DSK, this information booklet is very expensive. How much did student Li spend? Zhang Sheng tried to interrupt. Sun Mo, you better remember student Li's kind intentions. Quickly open it. I have marked the good students with a red inked brush. Li Ziqi moved next to Sun Mo, helping him to flip the pages and starting to recommend each student. How much did you spend? I'll pay you back. Sun Mo frowned. He had never taken advantage of any student, hence, he was prepared to return the money to her. Oh well, it's not that expensive. Li Ziqi didn't seem to bother. I recall it now. It should have cost you around 1,000 taels of silver. Right? Zhang Sheng continued to interrupt. But Li Ziqi's peripheral vision didn't even land on him. He felt extremely angry and awkward. He couldn't even join in their conversation. Li Ziqi pretended not to hear his question, but once Sun Mo asked something, she replied immediately. He thought to himself, why would she treat him with such double standards? He couldn't have been any worse than Sun Mo. Even Yuan Feng, who was beside them, could feel the awkwardness. Zhang Sheng had always been proud of himself and looked down on others, but he was being ignored now. Normally, Yuan Feng would have walked away after seeing all these. He didn't like to receive cold shoulders. However, when facing Li Ziqi, he couldn't bear to leave even if he had to receive cold treatment. Sun Mo was indeed very lucky to have a girl buy an information booklet worth 1,000 silver taels for him. Yuan Feng looked at Li Ziqi, who was innocent and cute. Seeing her quick-witted eyes and an oval-shaped face full of charming grace, Yuan Feng was drowned by gushes of envy and hatred. How could it be Sun Mo? Yuan Feng couldn't help but feel angry. Lu Xiaoyuo was not tall. She had to tiptoe and hold on to Sun Mo's elbow to look at the information booklet. Sun Mo, who is she? Li Ziqi saw how Lu Xiaoyuo's breasts were squeezed against Sun Mo's elbows. It had formed an exaggerated curve on her green clothing. She thought to herself, Lu Xiaoyuo must have done this on purpose. She's my student. Sun Mo replied casually, but Li Ziqi's smile froze in that instant. Her heart was filled with frustration, and she tightened her fists. She was crying in her head and couldn't help but blame her uncle. She had gone to meet a great teacher and that had delayed her arrival by a day. Her title of first personal disciple was gone now. No, I must not give up. Li Ziqi gritted her teeth and smiled after cheering herself on. Oh, then I must congratulate Teacher Sunday. Hey, have you acknowledged him as your master? The second half of the sentence was clearly directed at Lu Xiaoyuo. Lu Xiaoyuo was startled as she could feel a strange sense of hostility. She cowered behind Sun Mo like a little kitten, his body acting as a barrier between her and Li Ziqi. Yes. Yes, I have. Lu Xiaoyuo stuttered. To acknowledge one as your master, you must have prepared a ceremony and chosen an auspicious date. Just by looking at Lu Xiaoyuo's clothes, Li Ziqi knew that she didn't have much money. She was certain Lu Xiaoyuo had completed the ceremony with just 3 kowtows. This was her only chance to seize back the status of the first disciple. Hence, she had intentionally described the ceremony as a serious affair. Li Ziqi, you're truly a genius. Li Ziqi knew she had a perfect plan, and her brows raised in delight. I don't do such ceremonies. It's fine with me as long as I know the student's intentions. Sun Mo hated these unnecessary and over-elaborate formalities. This wouldn't do. Acknowledging one as a master is no child's play. Li Ziqi insisted. I'm done for. I'm done for. Zhang Sheng was so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. He knew he wasn't overthinking it. Li Ziqi was here to acknowledge Sun Mo as her master. Moreover, her way of seizing the title of first disciple showed that she had planned this. Yuan Feng looked at Sun Mo and Lu Xiaoyuo, and he couldn't hide the shock on his face. All he could think of was how this big-breasted girl said, yes, I have. How could you have acknowledged him as your master? Did Sun Mo has a student already? Did you cheat? Yes, you must have cheated. Yuan Feng yelled out without thinking. Shush. Li Ziqi looked at Yuan Feng unhappily. Just when she was about to berate him, she held back her words. She figured she could make use of this guy to make the big-breasted girl leave. Lu Xiaoyuo got a scare and quickly explained. No, Teacher Sun didn't cheat. I acknowledged him willingly. Don't believe him. He has a shady history. Yuan Feng became even braver when he saw that Li Ziqi was reactionless. My student? Hearing those words from Sun Mo, Yuan Feng murmured. How cool. He wished he had the chance to say those words too. Sun Mo was upset and rested his left hand on the wooden blade's handle. Why? Do you want to fight now? After being angered by Yuan Feng's words, Zhang Sheng spoke as well. He could use this chance to kick Sun Mo while he was down. Who wants to fight? A sudden clear and lucid voice interrupted Zhang Sheng's words. When he turned his head, his expression became serious once he saw Gixuk Sun and Liu Mu Bai. His chances of recruiting Li Ziqi became non-existent. T.Teacher Yuan Feng couldn't even speak clearly anymore after smelling Gixuk Sun's fragrance. This was his first time being so close to her. Hi, Student Li Ziqi. I am Liu Mu Bai. I believe you have heard my name before. Liu Mu Bai didn't even bother to greet the rest and spoke to Li Ziqi straight away. His attitude was extremely arrogant, but Zhang Sheng and Yuan Feng didn't dare to complain. They were afraid of offending him and tried their best to let out a smile. If this was in the past, Li Ziqi wouldn't even bother. But since she was unhappy to see how Sun Mo was being treated, she spoke mercilessly. Sorry, I haven't heard of you. Zhang Sheng and Yuan Feng had almost laughed out loud when they saw Liu Mu Bai's countenance, but they managed to hold it back. On the other hand, Lu Xiaoruo started laughing. Then, Lu Xiaoruo slowly realized that the atmosphere wasn't right. She quickly cowered and hid behind Sun Mo's back. Student Li, I am Gixuk-sun, this year's honor graduate of Zhongzhou Academy. Gixuk-sun introduced herself with much confidence and charm. She's actually a masochist. In his heart, Sun Mo added a description for Gixuk-sun. He hadn't thought the magnanimous and strong-looking Gixuk-sun would have a different side of her. Teacher Gu, are you competing with me? Liu Mubai turned his head slightly. Sharpness penetrated from the narrow corner of his eyes. I dare not. I'm just a passerby joining in the fun. Gixuk-sun knew that many great teachers were waiting to recruit students like Li Ziki. She came over only because she wanted to see Liu Mubai face a rejection. Of course, she would never let people know of her intention. Student Li Ziki, please allow me to introduce myself. Under usual circumstances, the proud Liu Mubai would have left after being angered, but he couldn't leave this time around. He knew that his future would be positively influenced if he were to recruit Li Ziki as his student, hence, he tolerated his unhappiness. He knew that life's journey would not be smooth sailing, and this must be heaven's test for him. After figuring out his thoughts, Liu Mubai's mood basked under the summer day's sunlight and improved greatly. There's no need to. I know your purpose for coming, but I already have a teacher in mind. Li Ziki rejected him. She was already very frustrated, having to deal with all kinds of teachers recently. Liu Mubai's words were all stuck at his throat. His expression was a mix of anger and awkwardness after being rejected so directly. Instead of sunshine, Liu Mubai felt as though a big pouring rain was drenching him from head to toe. Chapter 40. Apologize to Teacher Sun. The scene now was extremely awkward. Ever since Liu Mubai got into the Green Cloud rankings and became a dazzling genius, to say nothing of being a graduate from the Black-White Academy with the third best results, all he enjoyed was praise. When had he ever been treated like this before? For a while, Liu Mubai's heart was filled with anger. If the truth was that his skill was inferior to others, he could forget about it. However, he hadn't even displayed his talent yet. Might I ask an impudent question? Which of you is Student Li's teacher? Liu Mubai swept his gaze over at the three of them. How would Jiang Sheng and Yuan Feng dare to offend Liu Mubai? When they saw that his eyes were like fire, like branding iron capable of scorching their skin, they were so afraid that they hurriedly clarified things. It isn't me. It's also not me. Their nervous appearances made it seem as though they almost wanted to strip their pants to prove their innocence. Liu Mubai's gaze landed on Sun Mo. It's me then? Sun Mo's act was ordinary. But now that things had reached such an extent, if he still couldn't discern Li Ziki's intent, that would truly be too foolish of him. You are showing off after getting the benefits. You are definitely doing so. Damn. I really want to smack your face rotten. It was as though there was an angry bull roaring in Jiang Sheng's heart. Teacher Sun, you saved me in the Yunting Lake. From that time on, I am already your disciple, Li Ziki explained. However, the truth was naturally not like this. Li Ziki had encountered many annoying matters recently. This was especially so when her father used all his connections and paid out a huge sum of money to find a secondary saint as a teacher for her. But in the end, because her energy circulation was bad, she got rejected. This had caused her to blame herself. She felt inferior because she had let down her father's expectations. Hence, she went to Yunting Lake to relax. Because of misunderstanding, Li Ziki had jumped into the lake to save Sun Mo, but it ended up being saved instead. She felt some gratitude for Sun Mo. However, it was still that sentence of Sun Mo, if your heart is clear, there's no need to fear any wind and rain, that caused her favorable impression of him to greatly increase. He allowed her to see a ray of help in her life that was not going that smoothly. At that time, Li Ziki did think of acknowledging Sun Mo as her master. Hence, after seeing how Sun Mo guided Qi Shangjia, she made a resolution in her heart. Naturally, Li Ziki wouldn't tell anyone about these. She kept insisting that after she had met Sun Mo back then, she already wanted to take him as a master. If not, the identity of his number one personal disciple would fly away. When she thought of this, Li Ziki couldn't help but glance at Lu Xiaoruo. Are you that impressive just because you have large breasts? The position of the eldest martial sister definitely belongs to me. Oh, Sun Mo furrowed his brows slightly. Yes. I even tied a handkerchief on your wrist. That was my token of sincerity. When she dived into the water, all the valuable stuff on her was washed away. Other than a satchel that was filled with water, she only had a handkerchief left. Hence, she chose to give him the handkerchief. Sun Mo observed Li Ziqi. Although the system had given him a mission to make Li Ziqi wholeheartedly acknowledge him as her master, now that it was completed, Sun Mo wanted to ask her reason. He wanted to ask this even though it might offend Li Ziqi. There were too many people in the surroundings, and Sun Mo didn't wish to let people like Ixuk Sun feel that Li Ziqi was losing out on this. Hence, he controlled himself and didn't ask. Student Li Ziqi, you might be mistaken. Sun Mo lives in the same dorm as me, and I'm very clear about his standard. He doesn't even have the qualifications to be a teacher and is merely a staff in the logistics department, said Zhang Sheng. He was so jealous at the moment that he felt like he was about to explode. He would rather help Liu Mubai than to let Sun Mo succeed. His character is also problematic. He even hired students to act and boost his reputation. You must have been swindled by him, chortled Yuan Feng, who had just regained his senses. Regardless of whether it worked or not, Liu Mubai would definitely remember this favor. He naturally had to grab hold of such a good opportunity. Upon hearing the words hired students to act, Zhang Sheng's eyelids twitched. However, he was also a scheming individual and immediately pointed the arrowhead at Lu Xiaoruo. This student, why do you want to be his disciple? From Zhang Sheng's point of view, Sun Mo didn't have any ability. He must have used some methods to swindle this cowardly little girl over. As long as she said the process, Sun Mo's ugly deeds would be exposed here. That's right, don't be afraid. Bravely say everything. Yuan Feng encouraged her. Swish. Upon being stared at by everyone, Lu Xiaoruo was like a frightened rabbit. She hurriedly shrank back and hid behind Sun Mo. However, she extended her head out an instant later and courageously shouted, Teacher Sun is a good person. You must have been swindled. Yuan Feng felt bitter and hateful. Shut up. Li Ziqi couldn't bear to listen on any longer. She was so angry that her steel plate-like chest was shaking. Apologize. Ah? Yuan Feng was badly frightened. Apologize to Teacher Sun right now. Li Ziqi glared at Yuan Feng, feeling extreme loathing for this person. This person's words no longer targeted Sun Mo's teaching capabilities but his character. If this was to spread out, it would destroy Sun Mo's image. Yuan Feng stuttered. This was especially so when he thought of Li Ziqi's identity. All of a sudden, he felt regret for shooting his mouth off. Apologize. Li Ziqi persisted. Being glared at by Li Ziqi's large eyes, Yuan Feng couldn't withstand the pressure. He lowered his head. Sorry. And you? Li Ziqi glared at Zhang Sheng. I'm helping you, Zhang Sheng explained, staring at Li Ziqi with a look of lament on his face, like he was looking at a lost sheep. What qualifications do you have to help me? Li Ziqi counter-asked. Just apologize. Your ways of speaking could cause harm to a teacher. Ixuk Sun spoke. If even the teachers couldn't be a good example, how could students adore and respect them? There were no problems if they wanted to vie over students, but using such a method was truly disgusting. Zhang Sheng's expression was unsightly to the extreme. He wanted to avoid the problem by leaving, but he didn't dare to. If Li Ziqi reported this matter to the higher-ups in the school, he would definitely be fired. Why does she want to protect Sun Mo? Zhang Sheng roared in his heart. After that, he lowered his head. I'm sorry. These 3 words were like thorns that pierced his pride. What extraordinary shame and humiliation was this? Ixuk Sun curiously stared at Sun Mo, also having no idea how he had convinced Li Ziqi. But from the looks of things, this girl seemed to have a very favorable opinion of him. What are you all arguing about? A middle-aged man walked over, imposing without being angry. 2 strands of golden thread could be seen on his collar and cuff. This was the sign of a 2-star teacher. Teacher Xu. Even Liu Mubai was also respectfully greeting the newcomer at this moment. He was named Xu Shaoyun, a 2-star teacher. Ziqi, how's your aunt recently? Actually, Xu Shaoyun had only met Li Ziqi's aunt once or twice. But by asking like this, it could make it seem that he had a close relationship with her aunt. You are? Li Ziqi asked. He is teacher Zhongzhou Academy. Zhang Sheng hurriedly introduced. Joy was rising in his heart, and he couldn't help but glance at Sun Mo. Wanting to accept Li Ziqi as your disciple? Go and continue dreaming. Now, with the appearance of a 2-star teacher, you better scram as far as you can. Teacher Xu, you also want to recruit me as your personal disciple? I'm sorry, I've already acknowledged a master. Li Ziqi didn't wish to play these games. It was so tiring. Zhongzhou Academy's lips twitched. He felt a little unhappy. However, given his self-restraint, he wouldn't display it. On the contrary, he was smiling instead. Oh, it must be Mu Bai, right? Congratulations. Zhongzhou Academy pretended not to know and laughed. It's not me. Mu Bai shook his head. Zhongzhou Academy glanced toward Gixuxin. Teacher Xu, it's Sun Mo. Gixuxin had made some inquiries about Zhongzhou Academy's character. He was extremely narrow-minded. Hence, she didn't want to inspire jealousy and hatred from such a person. What's going on with this Li Ziqi? She doesn't even want to consider a 2-star teacher. Was her brain spoiled? Zhang Sheng's gaze was sluggish. Yuan Feng, who was at the side, couldn't understand this as well. What sort of bewildering soup did Sun Mo give this girl? Sun Mo? Zhongzhou Academy followed the gazes of everyone and turned to Sun Mo. He had an impression of this name. Are you Xin Huai's fiancé? That's me. Sun Mo didn't expect Li Ziqi to attract a 2-star great teacher over. It seemed like he had underestimated her. You are still an intern teacher, right? Zhongzhou Academy's attitude was like someone lofty speaking down to a subordinate. Leaving aside the fact that Sun Mo was an intern teacher, even if he was a teacher with tens of years of experience, Zhongzhou Academy would still dare to scold him. Student Ziqi is a good seedling. You won't be able to teach her well with your ability. You would only waste her talent. These words were enough. He wanted Sun Mo to give up. Zhang Sheng and Yuan Feng suddenly felt joy in Sun Mo's calamity when they heard these words. Show me what you will do now. Do you dare to defy the words of a 2-star great teacher? If you dare to, just wait for the consequences then. Gixuxin shook her head silently. She held Zhongzhou Academy's actions in contempt. Sun Mo, our school's current situation isn't too good. We need to raise a few good students, so our school can pull through. A genius like Ziqi needs to be nurtured heavily, and you are not qualified yet. When Zhongzhou Academy said the last 5 words, he purposely emphasized on them. Gixuxin sighed in her heart. These words weren't pleasant to hear, but he did have the qualifications to say them. After all, Zhongzhou Academy was a 2-star great teacher. Teacher Xu. Li Ziqi couldn't bear to continue listening. Just when she wanted to speak, someone held her back. She turned her head and saw Sun Mo looking straight at her. The two of them didn't say anything. But at that instant where their gazes locked, it was as though 1,000 messages were transmitted between them. Li Ziqi came to the Central Province Academy precisely because she wanted to acknowledge Sun Mo as her master. If not, given her family background, she would have countless better choices. I understand. Sun Mo smiled. He used some strength and pulled Li Ziqi behind him. After that, he looked straight at Zhongzhou Academy. Sorry, whether my teaching ability is good or bad, that's not up to you. That would only be determined after a test. These words were so tyrannical. Mu Bai stared at Sun Mo in amazement, not understanding how Sun Mo had the courage to argue head-on against a 2-star teacher. Did he not understand the consequences of his action? Zhang Sheng and Yuan Feng were in a daze. Had Sun Mo gone crazy? Why did he use such an attitude to speak to a 2-star great teacher? But after that, while joy filled their hearts, Sun Mo was finished. His teaching career was absolutely finished. You are quite manly. Gixuxin was astonished. After that, she couldn't help but silently praise Sun Mo. She could tell that Li Ziqi wasn't willing to acknowledge Zhongzhou Academy as her master, but if this girl rejected him directly, even if Zhongzhou Academy didn't dare to say anything due to Li Ziqi's status, he would definitely slander her from the shadows. If these words were to circulate out, it would be very bad for Li Ziqi. And now, Sun Mo's action was actually to protect Li Ziqi. This also meant that Sun Mo had to endure all the pressure and hostility from Zhongzhou Academy.